G'day everyone, welcome back to another video on the channel, and today I'm going to be going over my 2022 AFL season predictions, my ladder predictions. I'll be going over the finals and all the awards in this video, so it's going to be fairly long, so you know, it should be pretty good. Now of course, I think I should point this out, even though it goes without saying, this is my opinion. You guys are most likely not going to agree with all of my predictions, and that's fine, but there's no real need to give me unnecessary shit in the comments. You can disagree and all that sort of stuff. Regardless, let's just get right into this video. And at 18th spot for me, I've got Collingwood. I think Collingwood are going to have a poor season this year. They probably have the worst list in the comp. They haven't really brought in too many young players in the draft or the off-season. I mean, they obviously got Nick Dacos. He's probably going to win the Rising Star. I'm looking forward to watching him play. He's going to be really exciting. You know, the Pies weren't great last year at all. They finished 17th. And I'm sure Collingwood fans would agree that watching the Pies play last year was pretty difficult at times, and they didn't finish the year off well either. They got smashed against the Lions, and they looked quite deplorable against the Bombers as well. So it's going to be hard for me to really see them improving that much. I think they'll have a couple of years in the bottom four before they start rising up again. The Pies star players are starting to get a bit old, so you know, it's probably going to be a bit of a rebuild here for the Pies, I reckon. Now, 17th spot, I've got West Coast. I'm definitely not the only one here who reckons that the Eagles are going to drop. But from 8 positions, from 9th to 17th, it's a bit of a drop. But I feel like everything that has happened so far in the Eagles preseason, I mean, it honestly couldn't have gone worse for them. And it already was bad enough after their really disappointing into last year. They should have made the finals, but they completely bottled it. They just looked sluggish and uninterested late into the season. I don't know if they were running out of legs or if I don't know what it was. And it doesn't help how they've already lost Darling. I'm pretty sure he's not playing all season due to the vaccine. Cole and Sheed are both injured for, I'm pretty sure, half the season in that horror 97-point loss in the practice game against the Dockers. I know it's a practice game, but there's not a single Eagle fan out there, you know, who would be pleased with that result. It just doesn't do them any favours. For me, it shows that they're in for a poor season. I have a feeling, bit of a call, but they're going to do a Collingwood of 2021. People thought they'd drop off, but not by that much. Now, in 16th spot, I've got the Adelaide Crows. I don't think they'll be too bad. I think they'll be quite competitive. They're still obviously a young list, and they don't really have any star power players. Like, I don't really see them rising up too much in the ladder, but I think, you know, the bottom four is quite sound for the Crows. The addition of Dawson will for sure strengthen their list, as well as Rochelle. He looked really impressive in that preseason game. That poor one for the Crows in itself. They were quite uncompetitive against the Lions, but Rochelle was a shining light. I think he will be a very good player for them this year. But yeah, I think the Crows, they'll be slightly more competitive at home. I mean, they're able to beat teams like the Cats and the Demons last year at home. So it goes to show that they got the potential to perform, but it's just going to be a bit slow for the Crows in their rebuild. Now, 15th spot, I've got the Gold Coast Suns. Now, the Suns, a lot of people are saying that they'll finish bottom. I don't think they'll finish bottom, but again, I don't see them doing a lot this season. I can't see them being close to contending for the finals this year. It's the same for the Suns. Every year, people say that they'll, you know, rise up the ranks, that they're going to be close to making finals in the next coming years. But it's been now, what, 12 years or 11 years of the franchise, and the highest that they've placed is 11th. Like, that is just shocking. We all know what happened to Ben King, the ACL. It's going to be detrimental for the Suns, really, for any chance of them rising this season, particularly as they were the team who scored the least in 2021. I mean, Ben King is a key avenue up forward for the Suns. They're going to have to rely on players like Rankin and Day to step up in the forward line. And a player like Levi Casbolt, who probably wasn't necessarily going to get a starting 22 position. Now, he's going to have a bit more pressure on him to perform as, you know, there is no Ben King. You know, if Took Miller has another All-Australian caliber year and players like Matt Rowell get back to their early 2020 form, then the Suns could perhaps surprise a few teams this year and finish as high as maybe 12th or 11th. But quite honestly, I don't see that happening, knowing the Suns will probably finish bottom 4 and lower than 15th. Now, 14th spot, we've got North Melbourne. I reckon they'll rise up quite significantly. I reckon they could win 7 to 8 games. They've got quite an easy fixture, obviously finishing last. I think they play Hawthorn, Gold Coast, and Adelaide twice. Correct me if I'm wrong, I'll put it up on screen, but I mean, I can see them winning 4 to 5 of those games, if I'm going to be quite honest. And the win against West Coast last year away from home shows what they can manifest and how they're able to play quite an exciting brand of footy. Their young talent is really promising. The likes of Stevenson, Simpkins, Zerha, Davis, Uniac, and Larkey, just to name a few. Well, I reckon Larkey could potentially be a surprise All-Australian. I mean, he's going to be a good player for them this year, I reckon. I think North Melbourne will be alright this year. Like, obviously, they'll still have their games in which they get smashed and outplayed. I think they'll be more competitive this year. And yeah, there's a bright future for North. I think they'll be a pretty decent team in the next coming years. Now, in 13th spot, I've got the Hawks. A certain someone that we all know very well thinks that they're a lock to finish bottom, and I can't see that being the case. I reckon the Hawks will be alright this year. But yeah, the addition of Sicily, who was out for pretty much all of last year, and Jaff, who was out for, the last 4 or so weeks, will definitely be an added bonus to strengthen the defence, which, I'll be completely honest, was pretty shite. But I think Sam Mitchell, he seems to be a very good addition, the new coach, particularly due to his strong relationship with the players through coaching the VFL side. And obviously, we all know how well the Hawks performed at the back end of 2021. You could argue they were lucky wins, but I wouldn't say so. I mean, it's the back end of the year, and they're beating sides such as the Dogs, the Lions, the Swans, and drawing to the Ds. It just goes to show that they have the ability to beat the good sides, particularly when they need to be winning games late into the season. Now, in 12th spot, and in my opinion, quite a fair caliber above 13th, like the difference in quality, I've got Richmond. Richmond, it's an interesting one. I could see him finishing as low as 13th, 14th. Like, I feel like 12th might be a little bit low for them, but I could see him making the finals. I mean, it's their last chance, I feel like. Many people are predicting him to make the 8 and bounce back to have a sort of a redemption year, but I don't really see that happening. They look like a bottom 4 side in a lot of games in the back end of last. I don't know if it was just because of the injuries and they sort of just threw it in the towel or just gave up or whatever. I'm not too sure what the reason was, but I feel like personally that the Tigers' best is past them. I almost feel like they're cooked and they're going to start becoming a mediocre to poor side in the next few years. And of course, their premiership stars are aging. We've already seen the retirements of Asprey and Hawley last year, and players like Cochin, Edwards, Rewalt, they're past their prime, I would say. The race for the top 8 is going to be extremely close. So the Tigers will be in the hunt for the 8 for pretty much all season. It just comes down to percentage, and I feel like the Tigers, at the end of the day, just, will drop off a little bit and maybe only get the 10 wins. Now, in 11th spot, we've got Carlton. We say it every year. People go bold and predict the Blues to finally make finals. But for me, I personally haven't seen enough for me to be bold enough to predict them to make that jump into the 8. They just had another disappointing year last year, didn't they? All this expectations with Sard and Williams this time, and they weren't that good. I mean, Sard was alright, but they could easily be the surprise packet of the year and make it to the final. Maybe even make it as high as 5th or something like that. I personally reckon for the Blues, the start of the season is key. And if they don't beat Richmond round 1, then their chances of making finals plummet drastically. Like, I don't see them making finals if they don't win at least one of their first 2 games. And I know it's a bit of a stretch, like they can still bounce back into their season, but I mean, this is an amazing stat that I've found out. The Blues have started 0-2 in their last 9 seasons. And in those last 9 seasons, they've only made the finals once in 2013. The Blues are going to be exciting, I reckon. Cripps, Chera and Walsh, when they get clicking, when Walsh comes back, and if they're all firing this year, they'll be a very, very scary they'll be one of the best midfield trees of the comp. I mean, Chera and Cripps looked really, really good in the practice match against the Saints when I was there. Now, in 10th spot, I don't want to put this team in 10th, but I'm going to put them in 10th, and they're going to think that I hate them again. But we've got Essendon. Now, Essendon are a team that I genuinely think can finish as high as 5th, but it's weird for the Bombers. Whenever they make the 8, they finish outside of the 8 the following year, and they haven't made consecutive finals appearances since 2004, when obviously they last won a final, and they only just scraped into the finals. You can't take anything away from the Bombers. They had a great year, but they made the finals with 11 wins and only beat one side in the top 8. You can't take away their exciting brand of footy. They've got great talent with the likes of Draper, Perkins and Jones, and the addition of Jake Kelly in defence and Ben Hobbs in the midfield. The Bombers are going to be they're going to be a scary side. They're going to be a team you don't want to play. Now, 9th spot, I've got the GWS Giants. Now, this is an extremely hard team to predict, as they are definitely the most hit or miss side in the competition. They're a sort of team, right, who loses against Gold Coast and draw to North, right, the 2 bottom 3 sides last year, but can pull off remarkable performances, beating the D's and the Cats away, who finished in the top 3. But yeah, they've got a really big window in terms of where they can finish. I reckon they can finish as high as top 4, or as low as like a 13th if they just don't get things rolling, or they get lots of injuries, or players just are lacking form. So players such as Cornelio and Kelly, they need big years. They've sort of dropped off over the last few years. If they can have big years, and players like Toby Green just stays out of trouble and has a really solid season this year, then I reckon the Giants can propel themselves quite high up on the ladder. Now we move to the top 8, and at 8th spot, you're probably wondering, why is Cardman done this? Why have you put your team in the 8 again? You biased piece of crap. It's fair enough, but I legitimately reckon the Saints are a very good chance to make the top 8 this year. They're another side, just like the Giants, who are extremely bipolar, probably one of the second most inconsistent sides. I mean, again, they can beat sides like the Lions and the Swans, but then can get done by 75 points against the Bombers and choke a 36-point lead against the Crows. We started terrible last year and it killed our season, but you know, if we can win 3 to 4 of our first 5 games, which is a fairly easy start to the season, I reckon we're primed for a good season, particularly if we can keep a healthy list, we don't get many injuries, particularly with our ruckman. If players like Brad Hill, Billings and Butler can step up their game to the next level, similar to Steele and Sinclair in 2021, and if King can have a healthy season up forward this year, then I reckon the Saints are going to be a dangerous side like they were in 2020. Yeah, be a side that plays finals in 2022. Let's hope that's the case. Now in 7th spot, we've got the Fremantle Dockers. After lingering around the 11th to 14th mark for the last 5 years, you know, I finally see the Freo Dockers taking the next step to making finals in 2022. You know, injuries to key players in 2021, particularly to their defenders, such as Alice Pearce and Joel Hamling, were quite costly for the Dockers last year. I think they had a game against the Dogs where they literally had like 5 or 6 injuries. We all know the Dockers have an outstanding young list with the likes of Brayshaw and Sarong, and the Dockers will like to hope that Nat Fyfe can perform back to his best, and for, you know, someone like Shaun Darcy to back up his stellar 2021, potentially make a, you know, all-Australian squad this year. They've probably picked up the best draft talent out of any team, you know, with the local talent such as Erasmus, Miss and Johnson. They looked really good against the Eagles in their 97-point win. There's a bit of a question mark on their forward line. Lob and Tabata do need to have big years up forward for me, honestly, if the Dockers are going to make finals this year. Now, 6th spot on the ladder, I've got Geelong. I do see the Cats slipping a little this year, but it goes without saying that Geelong are one of the oldest lists in the comp. So, you know, you would just think that it's not long before you see a massive drop or a massive decline for the Cats in their performances, but it just never happens. They've made finals 14 of the last 15 seasons and top 4, 12 of the last 15 seasons. It's very, very impressive. I just feel like they're really, really disappointing into the season against the Demons. Might take a little bit of a toll on the Cats and they might not perform as well. I still think that they can easily make the top 4. They've got the list for it. They will win most of their games at GMHBA, but this is a slightly big call for myself. But if they don't make top 4 this year, I think in 2023, they're not making finals. Now, coming number 5th spot on the ladder, barely missing out on top 4, we've got Sydney. Now, obviously, Sydney were one of the surprise packages of 2021. And again, I reckon they will improve this year and finish 5th. They've got great players on all ends of the ground with a combination of youth and experienced stars such as Kennedy, Parker and Franklin, which obviously make out for a very solid list that I can see being up and about to the top end of the ladder for the next few years to come. I think they're probably not ready for a premiership this year. It honestly wouldn't shock me if they make a grand final this year and win a flag next year or something like that. Now in 4th position, I've got Port Adelaide. I still think that they had for sure one of the strongest teams in the competition. They were the only team last year to beat every single team that they played below 9th position. And if they can do that again in this year, as well as improving their performances against the top sides, I reckon that they have the potential to go all the way, make a, win a flag. They'll of course finish top 2 in their last 2 seasons, but have failed twice in the prelims to make it to the big dance. So can they do it this year? The Power, they can do it in the home and away season, but the finals, that's a bit of a question mark for the Power. I do think they're ready, so it's whether or not they can take the next step. The Power, I think they'll make top 4 this year. In 3rd spot, I've got the Lions alongside the Power. They have been a strong side for the past few seasons, finishing in the top 4 now 3 times in a row. But of course, their finals record is what drags them down, only winning 1 of their 6 games they've played in the last 3 years. So, they're primed for another big season. The Lions are going to be good again. It's whether or not they can take the next step and bring their home and away season form into the finals. And with the return of Cam Rayner, he's going to pose a deadly threat up forward for the Lions. And with Hipwood out for majority of the year, I feel like Danaher is set for a huge year. Now, 2nd place on the ladder, I've got Melbourne. The reigning premiers in the Ds are for sure the benchmark of the competition and will again have another terrific year like they did in 2021. Now, with the pressure of breaking their massive premiership drought past them, I feel like the D's shouldn't really have any nerves this year, and they can be playing really with all the confidence that they have in the world. They know that they're the best team in the competition. I feel like they might slightly drop off in the home and away season, the Demons. I mean, it's a combination of the fact that it's really rare to finish top spot twice in a row, and the fact that they will be given the hardest draw of any side this year. And again, I reckon the Demons probably have the most well-balanced list of any side in the competition. You've got Lever and May, the two rock-solid defenders, Oliver, Gordon, and Petrarch in the middle, and then Brown and Fritsch, who had a breakout year last year up forward. You know, as well as the other players like Rivers, Bowie, Spargo. You know, they go unnoticed, these players, but they play their role brilliantly week in, week out. But it's whether or not the D's will be able to back up their stellar season last year and make it deep into September to go back-to-back. Now, that leaves one team to finish first, and in my opinion, I've got the Western Bulldogs. I think that the Dogs have probably the most stacked list in the comp. I mean, I feel like this year, again, it's crucial for the Dogs to sustain that good form throughout the entirety of the season, because we saw a huge end-of-year drop-off, which saw them just absolutely throw away a top 4 finish. It goes without saying that the Dogs' best line is in their midfield, with elite stars everywhere. You know, Bont and McRae had massive years last year. Bailey Smith is set for a breakout season, I reckon. Now, of course, with them missing Bruce for most of the year, they're going to need the likes of Norton to step up. He's going to have to kick at least 40 goals for the Dogs this year, and it looks like a Jamara Ugle-Hagan is going to come into the side and get some more games this year. So it is important that he can find a bit more form after, you know, not the greatest start to his career. The Dogs have never won a minor premiership in their history. So, you know, could this be the year for them? I'm tipping it to happen. I think they're set for a big year, and they'll definitely be a contender for the flag. So those were my 2022 AFL ladder predictions. I reckon it's honestly the hardest to predict, particularly the middle from, I would say, 6th to 12th. That is the hardest to predict. Any team can finish in that top 8 spot. We'll quickly go over the medal winners. So for the Brownlow medal, I could have gone Jack Steele. I went for him last year. I'm going to go Clayton Oliver. I think Oliver, the D's, they'll go far into September this year, and I think Oliver will have another great year. He'll have his best season. Now for my Coleman medal, I'm gone for a little bit of an outlandish prediction, one that people might not like, but I've gone Joe Danaher. Obviously, without Hipwood for most of the season, he's going to be the main target up forward, so he's going to get more opportunities at getting, you know, goals in the forward line. The Lions probably have the best forward line in the comp. Like, they can score the most, so I think Danaher is really set for a year where he can kick upwards of 60+ goals. For my rising star, I'm going to go Nick Dacos. Dacos, yeah, he looks like a gun. He's going to play probably every game for the Pies this year, so he'll get the game time, and yeah, he already looked really good in the practice match, so I'm going to go Nick Dacos to win the rising star. Look, I don't know, I'm going to go an upset here. Screw it. Something a bit different. We'll go put Adelaide to win the flag for 2022. Why not? Port to win it by 16 points. They play their best game they've played in recent memory and win the flag. But anyways, guys, those were my 2022 AFL ladder predictions. It's going to be a really tough season to predict. Again, I'm going to get a lot of these wrong. Apologies for not placing your team in the respective position that you might reckon they deserve. But regardless, hopefully you enjoyed. If you did enjoy, leave a like, subscribe to the channel. I mean, this year's going to be massive for the channel. Footy content galore. So subscribe to the channel. Put down your predictions for this coming season in the comments. And I'll see you soon in my next video.